Hey everybody, so today I am here to tell you guys 15 baby names that I love but we will not be using. Now I've done this video in the past before where I gave you guys I think 10 different names, so I'll link that down below for you guys if you want to check that one out. But as I told you guys in that video, my husband is very difficult to name kids with. He doesn't like a lot of names. Hey everybody, so today I'm here to give you 15 baby names that I love but we will not be using. I have done this video before, but I had a ton of leftover names because, like I mentioned in that first video, my husband is really hard to name children with, so we've gone through quite a few names and I really love these videos still. And if you're new to my channel or my videos, me and my husband are currently trying to conceive after a 12-week miscarriage that happened in May. So, you know, baby names is still something that I'm thinking of for our hopeful future child, and I just thought I would put this out there because, again, I have a lot of names. I love this video, and I'll link my old video down below. I only did 10 names in that video though, I think, and this time I upped it to 15. But I will say this will be the last of any boy names because we have had 2 girls, so we've never had a boy. We haven't had to go through a ton of different names trying to find out names that we liked, and we do have one name picked out for a boy, so even if we did, we really don't have to do any more choosing. But to get started, I'll start with the unisex names, and the first one is Jessie. I went to school with both a girl and a boy Jessie, and they were great people. When I watched back my old video to make sure that these names weren't on that video, I was realizing that, one, my names came a lot from people that I knew or I experienced sometime in my life and I thought that they were great people, or 2, they came from TV shows, and also that I thought that they were just strong names. And that's exactly how I feel about every name on this list, including Jessie. However, as with all of these, Mark did not really like that. The next unisex name is Bryce, and I love this name because it was supposed to be my sister's name if she was a boy, and ever since our parents have told us that story, I just really loved that name, Bryce. Unfortunately, 13 Reasons Why on Netflix has killed that name for Mark. The third name is Riley, and this is actually Mark's name that he likes, but I'm really not a fan of. I think it's cute for a boy or a girl. I just can't see us having a Riley. I don't know if that makes sense. I guess that's what it is. I like the name, but I don't love it. So that's the only name on this list that has to do with me and not Mark. Next, I'll move on to the girl names. The first one being Callie. Now, I first heard Callie on Grey's Anatomy. Her real name is Calliope, but I liked her nickname, which was Callie. However, I know that a lot of people have named their children Callie since then, and the closest to me being Crystal from 3 C's in a Pod. I will link her channel down below. She's amazing. If you like my kind of content, you're gonna love Crystal's content. But she named her newest daughter Callie, and I just love it so much. However, it's a hard no for Mark. And then the next one is Gemma. I heard this name from Sons of Anarchy, and I fell in love with that name so hard. I feel like a lot of these names are a little bit different, but not too far out there or anything like that, and that's really why I liked Gemma. And the next one is Farah, and I really liked this for a really long time. I watched Beverly Hills, was it? The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I believe. And one of the women on there, she has a daughter named Farah, and that's where I heard it from. But the teen mom Farah completely ruins that name for me. And it's a bummer because if I think of the name Farah, I really do love it. I really do. But then I think of Farrah Abraham and I think maybe not so much. So that is the reason why both Mark and I have our hesitations about the name. The next name is Rory, and I heard of this off of Gilmore Girls, and I was for sure, like, I thought eventually one day I might have a daughter named Lorelai or Rory because I really liked both of those names. And we actually thought about the name Rory for quite a while, I will say, but we ended up going with Remy with our youngest, and ever since then Remy has a nickname and it's Rory, and it just, I don't know that it would go really well with us calling her Rory like 75% of the time. and having also a Rory. I think people would be very confused, and it's really kind of too close. But both Mark and I do really like that name though. The next name is Stella, and we were looking at this name whenever we were thinking of naming Sophie. However, there was a couple in our birthing class who chose it, and we ended up finding Sophie and loving that a lot more than Stella. And then later down the line, my cousin named his daughter Stella, so we just kind of feel like maybe not so much for us anymore. But I think regardless, Stella is such a beautiful yet kind of simple name. And the last one is Frankie. Now this came from when I was working in the salon. My boss had a best friend whose daughter used to come in a lot, and her name was Frankie. Her real name was Francesca, but everyone called her Frankie, and I just loved that. And then a couple years down the line, Mark and I found Wentworth on Netflix, and it's a really great show if you're interested in kind of like the prison kind of shows, and it's all about women, and I believe it's based in Australia. But nonetheless, there's a character in that named Frankie, and it just made me love that name even more. I know this name is kind of more out there than all the other ones, but I love it nonetheless. As you can tell from some of these names, I really like a shortened, more relaxed version of some names, you know, like Jessie instead of Jessica, or Frankie instead of Francesca, Callie instead of Calliope, things like that. I like those kind of shortened versions of the name. They really appeal to me. I like Sophie instead of Sophia. I like Remy instead of Remington. Those are my girls' names. But I don't know. Frankie just has always spoke to me. I think deep down inside, I really hope that I can eventually get Mark to change his mind on it, but he's a pretty firm no on it. And then lastly, we have the boy names, and these I am totally in love with, each and every single one of them. I'm basically just going to tell you where I heard it from, and I'm not going to ramble on each one. Just know that I like die hard love them. So the first one is Spencer, and I first heard this off of Criminal Minds, Dr. Spencer Reid. And that's where that infatuation came from. And it's actually kind of a popular last name where I live, but I would really like to see it as a first name. The next one is Felix, and I discovered this name like 7 years ago when I discovered YouTube, and I was watching PewDiePie. That's the biggest YouTuber on here. It's not a name that you hear very often in the United States. And then the next one is Jensen, and this is the real name of the actor who plays Dean on Supernatural. Supernatural was a show that I watched since I was like, I don't even know how old, but my dad actually got me into it, and I watched it for years and years and years, and I really liked Jensen because I went to school with a boy named Jansen, and I liked that, but I like Jensen a little bit more. The next one is Tate, and I actually heard this years and years and years ago when a high school boyfriend of mine liked to watch football games, and their quarterback was named Tate. I don't even know. And we ended up naming my cat Tate because I loved that name. And then whenever American Horror Story first came out in the first season, when they're in the murder house, Evan Peters plays a boy named Tate, and it just made me love it even more. The next name is Calvin, and that's with a K, mainly because the person that I knew with this name, that's how he had it spelled. And again, it was just something that I had never heard of before until I made this friend. And it's kind of funny to me because that was my first experience with the name. So I always figured Calvin was spelled with a K, but it's actually, I think, more notably written with a C. And it's just kind of funny to me because I look at the C and I'm like, that's spelled wrong, but it's not. It's that's the most common spelling for it, but I just kind of thought that was funny. And then the last boy name is Milo. I went to school with a girl in high school. Her brother's name was Milo. Her little brother was the sweetest thing, but just like with all the other names, it was just something that I had never really heard of before, but stumbled across and fell in love with. But that is all 15 of the baby names that I love, but we won't be using. I guess I should say 14 names and one that's my husband's, but nonetheless, you guys get the picture. Let me know down below what names you would love to use, but maybe your significant other just has shot down and you're still holding out a little bit of hope for. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.